Gerber, and this is Love at Any Age, the podcast for women over 50 who are ready to find love again with confidence, humor, and some coaching magic. Yes, I am going to tell you what to do and what not to do. That is what coaching is. Today, we are talking about two things that people avoid like the plague. What doesn't work about you and what doesn't work about him, and the awkward conversations that arise when we must, yes, we must in early dating address those things. But of course, we know in our heart of hearts that those things and how you handle those things, what I call your liabilities in quotes, are the test of real compatibility. And that's why I call it liability compatibility, because we are no longer over relying, I should say, on chemistry to choose the right person for us, right? We're not over relying on that anymore. So we need to look at the whole human. In this episode, you are going to hear why your quote unquote liabilities might actually be your secret superpower in love and dating. You are going to hear the 8-step framework for having these tricky conversations, these awkward conversations without scaring the other person off. That's our goal, is to keep them in the conversation and deepen intimacy. And you're going to hear 3 real life stories, including my very own, pretty funny one, pretty embarrassing one, that will show you that honesty can actually build attraction, not kill it or detract from it. So stick around all the way till the end. You're going to want to hear all these stories and learn all the steps for how to have these conversations. Let me remind you of the 3H method that underlies everything we're talking about in this podcast and how to find healthy, lasting love. The 3H's refers to the 3 voters inside all of us: the head, the heart, and the hoo-ha. Right? That's what's practical, how it feels, and what turns you on, the chemistry. How you handle what's real, not just what's great, but what's not great, is where the head and the heart rating can go up. At the beginning of the relationship, you know if there's chemistry, but you don't know if you're truly compatible. A first date, a second date, you don't know if you're compatible. You don't know if your lives are going to intertwine well. You don't know if your hearts are going to be able to take care of one another until you start having real conversations, awkward conversations, and discussing the things that don't work about you or that maybe don't work about you. You're not going to find out whether the person is actually a good match for you, head, heart, and hoo-ha. Everyone has, I have determined, approximately 7 things that don't work about them. I call them liabilities, but that's a very loaded word. And I really do want to explain that I don't mean something wrong with you. I really don't. But sometimes people avoid dating because of certain things about themselves or about their life or about their needs or about their situation that feels so vulnerable or so unworkable that it takes them out of the dating market entirely. It could be a health issue, it could be an STD, or it could be having survived a certain health issue like a cancer or a transplant. It could be long COVID, right? Like it could be a health issue. It could be a relationship that's unresolved, whether it be with a parent, an ex, a child. It could be an ugly divorce or maybe an ongoing battle that's going on with someone in your life. It could be a financial issue. It really could even be just the fact that you like texting every single day, or maybe you abhor texting altogether. So these are your quirks. These are the things about you that probably aren't going to change or change by very much. And maybe they've presented problems in the past for you in relationships. And maybe they're just presenting a problem for you and you're worried they might present a problem for someone else. Or maybe they're just idiosyncratic things. Like for me, I wanted to raise children in New York City when I found my husband. And so anybody who didn't want to raise kids in New York City would be out for me, would not be a potential for me. So that's not a liability, but it's a quirk. It's a thing that I needed to address in early dating to make sure that the person was compatible with me. So don't take the word liability too harsh. Don't take it too hard. Don't read too much into it. I know it's a very negative word, but I want you to start thinking about what your 7 might be. What might be the things that would be tricky for somebody else to handle or would require a conversation for someone else to know about in order to make sure that you two are a good head and heart match. Because as soon as you can start talking about those things, that's the sooner you're going to know who's a good match for you and who you are a good match for, right? It's a two-way street. Last episode, if you missed it, please go back and listen. We talked about the 3-date strategy because we are attempting to find out about compatibility sooner rather than later, before you invest, before you're like, this has to work out because I really love this person, or I'm really attracted to this person, or I'm having fun with this person. We're trying to figure out if there's true compatibility, including liability compatibility, much sooner than most people are urging you to do that. So just keep that in mind. That's also why I'm going to tell you how to bring these conversations up without scaring the other person off and how to think about these conversations in a much more positive way. Okay, so let me give you a few more examples of liabilities. Health conditions are one of the number one reasons that people actually avoid dating, are scared to date. They don't want to bring it up. My recommendation is whatever health condition you have that is personal, that is private, you do not owe disclosure about it. However, I would recommend you speak about it by the 3rd date. Most likely, if you're over 50, everyone either has a health condition, has had a health condition, or will have a health condition if you're looking for serious long-term love. So this cannot be a secret or a taboo topic. If you want to bring it up in a video chat or in the first date, by all means, please do. I'm just saying you don't have to. What you do have to do, I think, is bring it up before you proceed past a 3rd date with somebody, because at that point, you're really thinking about a long-term future with this person and trying to make sure that you are compatible for that. And so at that point, I would say you should disclose and you should attempt to make it safe and elicit the same from the other person, because most likely there's something they need to tell too. It might not be about health, but it will be about something. So you don't owe it until you feel safe. You certainly don't owe it unless you think you have a future with the person. In other words, everything else is lining up, you feel attracted, and vice versa. That's when you should start to talk about it. Things that are going on in your home, whether that's pets, an extreme amount of pets, an allergy to pets, somebody that you're caretaking, like a parent, a relative, or a child, financial instability or financial problems, a strong personality trait, right? So, for example, my husband and I both lean towards arrogance, which would normally be considered a negative trait. Makes sense. For me, I find his arrogance attractive, and he, I believe, doesn't mind mine. Okay, so in that case, our two negative personality traits cancel each other out. They become not liabilities. On the other hand, he's a little indecisive and sort of slow processing on decision making, and I love to make decisions really quickly and sometimes too quickly. And so, in that way, our personality traits actually clash and contradict one another, and that causes arguments. So, those are liabilities we bring to the relationship that we actually have to continuously work on. So, some liabilities cancel each other out, some liabilities do not occur as liabilities. For example, he had no problem moving to New York City. And some liabilities you actually have to keep your eye on and work on over the duration of a relationship. But if all the other H's are happy and everything is great, this is surmountable. This is something that you should be willing to work on to have a great relationship. A bad habit could be a liability. Now, bad habits are things like leaving your clothes around, leaving dishes in the sink, biting your fingernails, not returning texts in a timely fashion, all the way to addictions. And there really are addictions, right? People are addicted to their phone. People are addicted to drugs and alcohol. People are addicted to gambling, shopping, food. I don't want to put that in the same category as bad habits. They're two different things. I do want to say that many people who deal with addictions find love and have a great love. So if you're struggling with an addiction or you have concerns about being with someone who is recovering or struggling with an addiction, that's something that obviously does need to be talked about in early dating. But love is possible. This is not a deal breaker for most people. So unless it's, I think it would be a deal breaker if the person wasn't treating it in recovery, paying attention to it. But please don't think your addiction makes you unqualified to find lasting, healthy love. It's just something you need to talk about as a potential liability. There are also lifestyle non-negotiables. Like for me, not leaving New York City was a lifestyle non-negotiable. Turns out I finally left, but up until a really recent moment, that was a deal breaker for me. Religion could be a lifestyle non-negotiable for folks. Certain levels of fitness could be lifestyle non-negotiables, or ways of eating or managing alcohol, for example, could be lifestyle non-negotiables. How much interaction someone wants to have with their family could be a lifestyle non-negotiable. So those are the kinds of things that, again, for the right person, they're not even considered liabilities, but they could be considered liabilities depending on who you are partnered up with. So the question isn't, do I have any liabilities? Remember the quotes. It's, can we handle each other's liabilities? Can we talk about them? Can we negotiate them? Can we delve into them? Can we work on either not caring about them or making them better or just negotiating how we're going to handle? So, again, the term liability compatibility describes how you can love someone and mesh lives with someone, considering and understanding and accepting and even celebrating the fact that they are human. And that means that, especially over 50, they're going to come with some quote unquote baggage. They're going to come with some things that aren't probably going to change very much. Unfortunately, you can be very well matched on paper and you can think you're a very good match with somebody and still have your liabilities clash in a way that's unexpected, that ends up having those liabilities, again in quotes, be deal breakers. And the reverse is true too. You can have quirks that cancel each other out beautifully. So your liabilities may end up being actually the superpower. For me, that was true when I found the love of my life, was that every liability either was charming, non-eventful, or was an opportunity for each of us to grow. Now, we didn't figure that out right away, but that's really kind of what you're looking for. So I will give a few more examples here of my own relationship with my husband. Neither one of us likes to wear antiperspirant for health reasons, which means body odor. Okay, great news for us. For some people, that will be a total deal breaker. Okay, I'm being vulnerable. I'm telling you the inside scoop on my life. I like the way my man smells without deodorant. I think there's some pheromones in there. I don't know what's happening, but I like it. So this thing that would potentially be considered a liability for many men, and many women very much care that their man smells good. To me, that smells good. I told you the arrogance cancels out for us. Neither one of us cares much about wardrobe, fashion, having new clothing. Again, that works because we share that value similarly. So again, it wouldn't work for many, but it does work for me. He did acquiesce and let me raise children in New York City, which was great. And then the things that were problematic were more around our personality traits. You know, there are some things about him that do irk me and that do that do get on my nerves, and we have to negotiate. Mostly he's overly generous with other people, and I think he should only be overly generous with me. And along with not caring what people think, he can fart in public, and that sometimes embarrasses me. Same as when my dad used to do it. And, you know, we process at different speeds and make decisions in different ways. But again, all of those potential liabilities in our case were workable. And that's what I am trying to tell you is possible, trying to inspire you is possible. But if we didn't talk about it, it would have been this kind of like silent, festering judgment. And that's not what we want in early dating. And that's not what we want in long-term, healthy, lasting love. So let's talk about early stage dating and having these revelations or discussions about what I call liabilities. Most people skip this because, you know, you think, oh, well, I have this thing about me, or I'm annoyed about this thing about him, and I don't want to scare him off. I don't want to seem too much. I don't want to be overbearing. He doesn't need to know that yet. You'll say things like that to yourself. So whether it's something about you, your needs, or something he's doing that doesn't work for you, you can excuse and justify putting that off. But I am saying hiding your humanness actually is what makes dating fatigue happen. It's what makes it tiring. It's what makes it feel like drudgery to be in early dating. And it's false advertising if you're not speaking up about what you're experiencing. So you're also misleading the person. And even if he really wants to make you happy, he can't. So real intimacy requires honest conversations, awkward conversations. And so you're going to have to learn how to have those conversations early and with grace. Most people have trouble actually balancing what I call grace and wisdom. So the grace is being able to say it in a way the other person can hear it, but the wisdom is making sure you say the thing, making sure you actually get the words out of your mouth about what you're experiencing. So what I'm teaching you, what this coaching method, this beautiful hand-held coaching method that I've been trained in and that I'm trying to teach you says is that a balance of grace and wisdom is necessary in every communication. Simply, please pass the water is a great example. Please is the grace, pass the water is the wisdom. What you need is the wisdom. Saying it in a way that's polite is the grace. If you just said please, no one would know what you wanted. If you just said pass the water, you would sound rude and like you didn't care about inconveniencing someone else. So most people blow it one way or the other. They're either too graceful, they don't get to their point, they don't say their truth or their whole truth, or there's too much wisdom. They say it too bluntly, they blurt it out, they wait till they're annoyed before they say anything, so it comes out as an accusation or judgment. There's a better way, right? And I'm going to teach it to you through the 3 Ps because we love, we love words. We love words with the same letter at the beginning. Prepare, present, and partner, the 3 Ps. And this is about your mindset in communication. So prepare is about getting ready. And I'm going to give you 8 steps to pre-script these conversations. Not because you have to sit there and read it, though you could, but because you need to prepare so you're confident to speak with that balance of grace and wisdom. The second P is present. In other words, you're gonna actually follow through with it, right? Because you've got a coach telling you to go do it. You're going to ask permission first. That's another great P. Get consent. You're going to own your own part of it. You're not going to blame. You're not going to judge. And you're going to clearly say your piece, another P. and again, I'm going to script that all out with you. And partner is it's a dialogue, right? It is not a monologue. It is not a dump on someone else. It is an invitation for a 2-way discussion of this was my experience. What's your experience? This is what I'm perceiving. What's actually going on here? It's actually the only way to build true relationships and true intimacy. And frankly, it works beyond early dating. It works all the way through a relationship and in every kind of relationship that's important to you. So now I'm going to review the actual 8 steps to the art of a difficult conversation. Another beautiful hand-held method that I use over and over again with my private clients, and I am now releasing to you so that you can use it as well. So remember, prepare. You're going to write this all out prior. You're going to practice it in the mirror with a friend, with a coach, with a cat. I don't care who. Someone needs to hear this out loud before you present it to the person you're dating, because it will help you hear if it sounds like a balance of grace and wisdom, and it will help you feel more confident because you've practiced. So the first step is asking permission, right? We know how important it is to get consent. It's not just important because it's respectful to the other person. It's also important for you because it's going to, if they say yes, you may proceed. It's going to make you feel better and more comfortable because now you've been invited to say the thing. So, hey, there's been something on my mind. It's kind of bugging me. I want to talk with you about it. Is now a good time? That's what it sounds like to ask permission. Obviously, you can put that in your own words. The second thing you're going to say is your purpose. And this is a good time to say, you're not in trouble. Nothing's wrong. I'm not mad. I just want to put this out on the table because it's important to me to be upfront with you. It's important to me to establish a basis of honesty in our relationship. It's important to me not to be having a conversation with you in my own head that I know I should be having with you in person or in words. Or the purpose could even be, I just want to get on the same page about this thing because I need your opinion in order to know if we're aligned on this matter. So the next step after getting permission is now you're going to state your purpose, which puts them at ease, right? It puts them at ease and it frames the conversation. And it should put you at ease too, because you're acknowledging very clearly that they're not in trouble. You're creating a dialogue. You want to have communication, and this is a safe space. Okay, the third thing you can do now is acknowledge that it's awkward. If you're nervous, say something. I'm nervous bringing this up. I don't want you to think it's a big deal. I might be totally making something up, or, I don't want you to think this is a bigger deal than it is. I don't want you to think I'm a nitpicker. It's just nerve-wracking to tell you the truth about my experience because I really have no idea if I'm out of left field or what. Okay, so those are just some examples of saying what's on your mind, saying what's on your heart, saying that it's hard for you so that the other person understands where you're coming from, sees your vulnerability, and probably will make things a little easier for you because they know you're a human and you're doing something brave. It will also inspire them to be more brave when they have something hard to say. The fourth part is owning anything you can own. So this is just my perspective. This was my experience. This is what I observed. I have no idea if it's correct. So, for example, we've been dating for a few weeks. I think it's been going really great. I've really enjoyed our daily texting back and forth. I kind of look forward to it when I wake up. I look forward to it when I go to sleep. And I never said anything to you about expecting that or enjoying that. So there's no way that you could have known that that's something that has become really important to me. But when you stopped doing it last week, I noticed, right? Okay, so that's an example of step number 4, owning your part. So I'm owning this is my perspective. I don't know what it means for sure from your vantage point, and I could be making something up, and I'm also being responsible. I didn't ever tell you that this was important to me, which is a great thing to be responsible for. I never brought this up, so how would you know? Such a good point. The fifth step is the content, right? And I sort of went into that in my example. The content is when you stopped texting, in our example here, I noticed and I wasn't sure what to make of it. I wasn't sure what it meant. Did it mean you were losing interest? Did it mean you were distracted by something? Or was it just, do you not like it? I just don't know, right? I'm checking in, right? Because I want you to know that I noticed it and it felt a way to me. And so we need to discuss it. Then step number 6 is now I want your perspective, right? What was your experience? What happened for you? What was going on over there? Does what I'm saying make any sense to you? How does it land for you? What do you think of it? These are all examples. Please don't say all of those. Those are all examples of inviting their perspective, which is step number 6. Step number 7 is one that's often hard for women. It has been very hard for me, which is to listen. It is simply to listen. And I write it out as a step, even though there's nothing to script. You should just write listen in really big letters in your notes, because this is where the magic happens, where you hear a different perspective, where you become enlightened and connected to the person on the other side of your made up drama. And it's very profound. So practice and write it down. Listen. And then if you want extra credit, whatever they say to you, repeat it back or say it back in some way to let them know you've heard. So maybe they're going to say, well, you know what? I was traveling actually, and I forgot my charger. And so there were a few nights where I actually ran my battery down and had to go without a phone for about 17 hours. And by the time I got charged back up at work, I was in the middle of a very busy workday. So actually wanted to text you, but I literally could not in my hotel room that night. But that be, they could say that, and then you would say back, okay, so it was really a circumstance thing. Or they could say, well, I actually don't enjoy texting. I've been enjoying texting with you, but, I kind of thought we had gotten to a place where maybe it wasn't as necessary since we're seeing each other more often. They'll say whatever they say. And you will say back, okay, so what I'm hearing is it's not something personal. You're not having thoughts or feelings that imply something negative, or you're not trying to send me a message here. This is just you sort of fill in the blank, right? You being busy, you being distracted, you wanting to renegotiate our protocols, whatever it is. Okay, so now in the space of having heard their experience and having expressed your experience, the final step number 8 is, okay, let's create new agreements. So can we agree we will text each other every morning and every night? Is that okay with you? Or can we agree if you're going to go out of text communication, you'll just send me a signal or you'll tell me why? Or can we agree that if you ever disappear from the text chain, I'll assume your phone died? Or can we agree that you'll buy 4 new chargers and keep one in your suitcase? Or whatever it is, right? So you'll come up with some new agreement based on you understanding their experience and their understanding your experience. And that agreement will then hold the integrity of the future of whatever that issue might be. It might be a one-time misunderstanding that requires no future agreements other than let's always talk about it when something comes up. But it might be something that's really something that needs to be negotiated. Like you can fart in public, but not in front of my parents or something, whatever. You're negotiating what's going to work for both of you. Okay, so that is the 8-step art of a difficult conversation rubric. It is so powerful. My clients use it all the time. These 8 steps will transform how you communicate with everybody, not just in dating. And if you practice them, they will become second nature to you. And you will use them all the time because they work. They work to make you more comfortable. They work to make your relationships more honest and intimate. And they work to put other people at ease as well. Please acknowledge that new relationships over 50 mean you have a whole life behind you. You're going to be dealing with past relationships, with exes. You're going to be dealing with current relationships, with parents, siblings, children, friends. You're going to be dealing with health issues, money issues. You're going to be dealing with sex because this is a 3H relationship. So there's no avoiding these difficult conversations. There's no avoiding this awkwardness if you want to get on the same page with someone you are potentially going to fall in love with. And because most people don't have telepathic abilities, we have to remember that we couldn't possibly know what another person wants and needs without having the conversation out loud. It's just table stakes for a healthy, lasting love relationship. So learn how to do it, get good at it, teach your partners in early dating so they can have the skill too, and watch everybody grow, thrive, and be happier. Okay, sit back. It is story time. It's story time. It's like your bedtime stories. I am now going to tell you some fun stories about honest conversations that could have gone very badly, but ended up going very well. And the first one is between my husband and me, and it takes place right before our very first kiss. When my husband, I knew it was about to happen, and my husband, now husband, at that time, very new boyfriend, turned to me and said, "Hey, could we go brush our teeth?" And me being a pretty upfront and honest gal said, "What?" And he said, "Well, your breath smells like garlic." And you know what? It was true. I love garlic and I never gave it a thought about how my breath might smell. And I also wasn't necessarily planning to kiss that night. But nonetheless, he very early in our relationship showed me that he was going to be honest about his experience and what was happening, even if it was awkward, even if it was embarrassing. And I am sure, get very embarrassed, but I lived through it. And I decided to place more emphasis and power with the fact that he was brave enough to say that and that he wanted to kiss me and he didn't want to be distracted by garlic, than to my mortification that I would have bad breath and not even know it. And we did go brush our teeth, and we did end up having an excellent makeout session. And that was over 30 years ago. So happy ending. Obviously, if there isn't attraction between two people, that kind of comment could end the relationship. And that would be okay. Because the reason that honest comment worked out is because we were a 3H match. We worked in terms of practicality, we worked in terms of a heart connection and a trust, and we worked because we were attracted to each other. So beware, it was not magic that he said that. It just happened to work well in the context of an actual match. So if you're not able to say the truth or hear the truth, that might not be an indicator that telling the truth is bad. It might be an indicator that you're not a 3H match, and better to find out sooner than later. Story number 2, we'll call her Laura. I heard the story many, many years ago, but I always loved it. So Laura had, one of her 3H criteria was that the person be physically fit. And she had a bunch of dates with this guy who was so smart and so creative and so handsome and so wonderful. And she was really falling for him, but he was not physically fit. And she just kept trying to get over it and not have it be a deal breaker until finally her coach said to her, listen, you gotta tell the truth here. You gotta design one of these conversations. And she sat him down and she went through all the steps. And she said, listen, I really care about my health and vitality, and I love staying in shape. And I want to share that with somebody. It's really important to me. And, where are you with that? What's your situation? And he explained that he had been in a car accident in the last 6 months that had completely changed his body and his lifestyle. That in fact, he had been I think, a triathlon person and a bodybuilder and all of these things prior to the accident, but that he had not been able to restore that in the time since. And he was just newly dating again, and he was certainly intending to get back to that place. And lo and behold, I watched it happen in that particular couple. He did get back in shape, and he it was true. But if she had never asked, she actually wouldn't have known, and she was ready to break it off with him before she had that conversation. So it's again, it's not that the honest conversations for sure keep you with somebody, it's that they speed up either the intimacy or the breakup. And that's what's really great about them. The last story I'll tell you is one my coach told me, the wonderful Lauren Handel Zander. She told me a story about someone she dated early in her life where her issue was his teeth, that she, again, was otherwise attracted and otherwise thought it was a great match and was having fun, but she had this issue with his teeth, and it was bothering her so much she had to eventually say something. And what she remembers from that conversation was his reaction was to call her out on being shallow and tell her that that was insane for her to harp on that or have concerns about that, which she found very sexy. She found his response to her telling the truth very sexy, very powerful. And so she was not proud of the truth she had to tell. And in fact, in his reaction, she was humbled. But what we learned from something like that also was that attractiveness can change. And attractiveness can change once you start to speak about what you think turns you on or what you think are the keys to you being attracted to someone. Sometimes the person's response to that, and sometimes the response is, okay, I'll change, I'll groom better, I'll put on deodorant, I'll stop farting in public, I'll change my wardrobe, I'll get a haircut, I'll fix my teeth. Many men do that for their woman. But sometimes they go, no, take me as I am. I'm a wonderful catch. And the woman is rightly humbled and even more attracted to his charisma and his confidence. So all of these things are possible with honest conversations. And sometimes the honest conversations don't end up going how you wish they would. And I'm going to say in the long run, that is also a success. So each story is meant to show you that even if you think the truth will ruin a connection, it can often deepen the connection if it is handled with care. And it's something you want to get good at no matter what the results are in any particular example. So I have lots of homework for you to do. I want you to start thinking, if you haven't already, about what those 7 liabilities might be that you bring to the table. And remember, liability can mean many things. Go back and listen again if you forgot. Be honest with yourself. What are your quirks? What are your circumstances? What are your patterns that could be hard for someone else? And game plan how you're going to talk about it. Either write down how you want to speak about it or voice record how you want to speak about it. If you had an ugly divorce, you're going to need to talk about it. You're going to need to say what you learned. If you have a kid that you're still caring for at home or attempting to launch into the world, you're going to need to explain that to someone who might end up wanting to live with you. So all of that needs to be considered, thought about, scripted, or voice recorded. That is your special homework assignment. And lastly, even if you're not dating, if you're dating, apply this to your early relationship. If you're not dating, you can apply this to any relationship. Think about one small, awkward truth that you have been avoiding talking about with someone. It could be any relationship. And practice scripting a conversation using the 8 steps. You will not believe how miraculous these steps are. Love is built on the courage to tell the truth. It is built on the courage to tell the truth. And practicing over and over is how we get good at this and comfortable with this. When you master the art of a difficult conversation, you can stop wasting time. You can stop pretending. You can stop pretending that you have no issues whatsoever. And you can start showing up as the real you and encouraging the other person to do the same, because that's how you find out if it's your person. That's how you get recognized and recognize your soulmate in someone else's eyes. If this episode has helped you look at dating a little differently and look at those awkward conversations as just a little more possible, yay. I would love your support in getting the word out to more women, more people, really anyone who can benefit from learning how to talk about the hard things. So please download, subscribe, like, leave a review, comment, however you interact with podcasts, please do it, and then do something else. Share it with a friend, share it on social media, send out an email, whatever your thing is, spread the word, please, because I want everybody to have these tools. And the more feedback I get and the more interaction I get, the more I know what you need from me, and the more we can believe in love for everyone at any age. Thank you for tuning into my podcast, Love at Any Age. If you want more and you have not listened yet to my free webinar, get in there while it's still free. It is called The 3 Secrets to Finding and Maintaining Healthy Love Without Repeated Disappointments. And it is to help you really zero in on and narrow down what it is you want from love and how to get to it much more quickly. You'll spot your patterns, you'll learn about the 3H chart, and you'll learn about choosing well, and you'll learn about all my other offerings as well. So it's a great place to get to know me better, and I invite you to check it out. lauriegerber.com/webinar. Next week, in episode 6, we are going to circle back to a topic that I raised in the past, which is what are the questions you should be asking on each of your first 3 dates. So, of course, I'm asking you to follow the 3-date strategy and learn so much about a person in 3 dates, but how? How do you do it? How do you come up with the right questions? And what questions are right for which date? We're going to get very tactical next week. So last week in episode 4, I talked about what you need to accomplish in each date. And today I talked about discussing the hard topics, but we're going to circle back next week and talk about preparation for dating in general, which means coming up with your master list of what I call Sparks questions so you can be armed with everything you need for successful dating. That is what I want for you. Thank you for believing in love. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing this episode with others, and I will see you next week.